Houston Baptist University, which is now Houston Christian University, for his undergrad, mathematics and physics and grad school. And he just loves school. He just keeps learning, just keeps, keeps going and going. But started with Cutco. And actually, when he started, wasn't, the top killer rep. I moved here. I met him in fall of 2014. And he had just done the entrepreneurship internship or was going was just had a really great attitude, really bubbly, really excited to learn and grow. And when I came in 2015, one of my best friends, Andy, got to meet him and he was like, I like this guy, and took him under his wing back in 2015. And it's been just incredible to watch the growth. Francisco always had like the natural charisma and charm, that's for sure. And so in terms of skill set and really learning how to implement that and leading him to now over 2.4 million in sales. He won many All-Americans while in college, and is in the Cutco Hall of Fame. Is pretty dang good at this thing, and he's somebody that I just love being around just because of his energy and excitement, and he usually has his nose in the book, so I'm super stoked to have him here and to get to hang out and celebrate next week with Mr. Francisco. So he could talk about so many different things. So it was really hard to come to this topic so I was like, man, I love hearing him talk about closing big, and I love hearing him talk about this and that. But something that Francisco, does really well is just enrolling people into who he is, where he's going, what he's doing, and today is going to actually be a little bit. I'm excited to hear this, but a different angle of getting leads anywhere, from everywhere, from anyone, and handling objections and just how to be able to keep your business going. I mean, he's had his business rolling now for 13 years. And it's something that could keep going, forever if he wanted to. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Fran, for some teaching, and then we'll open it up for some Q&A, okay?
Sounds good. And, remind me, how much time do we have for this morning?
About teaching about 30, 45 minutes, and then we'll have Q&A.
Okay, perfect. So, one of the things I was very excited about making this talk was she's right. I'm going through this like a very at a different perspective, and I'm surprised I've never actually had a talk this in depth about it. So I'm excited to share it with everybody because it was fun to reflect on the journey, especially throughout the beginning, and then look at the past 10 years and see where the heck my referrals have come from. And I might repeat this later on, but one of my favorite things that I've loved about this business is, in a way, I get to brag about how long I've been running a solid demo business after a decade. When a lot of people, I feel, leave the company because they say, or I'm working a booth somewhere, I'm working an event, or I meet a customer and their kids are there, or being like a 21-year-old is what I mean by a kid. And they tell me like, yeah, they used to sell Cutco, and then I'll talk to the ex rep, and they'll say things like, yeah, I sold Cutco till I ran out of leads. I called on my family, they bought everything, and I dried up. I've never understood that ever my whole life selling Cutco. And I want you guys, in the past, I've called it being a referral magnet, having an abundant mindset about referrals. And those monikers or concepts ring true to this day. And I just want to break down what led me to be the resourceful guy for getting leads, meaning referrals, from anywhere and everywhere to this day. And if we have a time at the end to talk about some objection handlers, we will. I'd rather just go over some objections and see what you guys have and then go from there. But we'll go figure that out when we get there. So here's the first thing I thought about when I settled upon what I've done to get me referrals. Now, this isn't just the regular go to a demo, do your referral approach, and give me a second. There we go. And get a bunch of referrals on the demos. I can talk to you about how to go ahead and do your referral approach, have a great time, drop seeds, you give a goal to a customer, use your sponsorship page, and just nonstop, consistently asking for a bunch of referrals. I want to make this talk about how to get them outside of that moment. And because I've realized through my peers that I get a lot of referrals everywhere. So the first one that came to mind, just to give some background onto how abundant or resourceful I am, because I think it's hilarious when I think about it. When I was going for 100K a few years ago, and I found the year that I did 100K in SE2, which was 2 weeks and a half, I went to the wrong address for a demo. I knock on the door and she ends up opening. I'm like, hey, I'm here for so and so. And she's like, sorry, hon, you're at the wrong house. She actually lives on West A Street. This is West B Street. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my bad. And so I went to West A Street, did my demo there, and I was like, sorry guys for being so late. I actually went to the other address, West A Street, and then she was like, oh, that's funny. Our mail goes there all the time. And I was like, really? So who is that? She's like, oh, that's Lindsay. And I was like, really? Yeah, Lindsay's got a lot of money. And I was like, she does. And I was like, yeah. And I'm like, do you know her? No, not really. Do you have her phone number? No, not really. No, I don't have her phone number. And I was like, oh, okay. This is probably like the last few days of the push towards 100K. So I needed every bit to get to over 100K. And so I decided, you know what? I'm going to drive back to the other customer's house or to that other person's house, random person. And it was in a nice neighborhood. And I told her, hey, Lindsay, I was actually at your friend's house, Christina's. Apparently, her mail gets delivered over here too all the time. Hey, I was showing her Cutco, and as soon as I said that, guys, the lady went, Cutco? I was like, yeah, she bought some stuff for me. So, hey, no obligation or anything. I just wanted to ask you, your husband, if I could come by and show you guys some really cool kitchen stuff. Lindsay, oh, Christina was super excited about it, and she said you get a kick out of meeting with me. So I thought I'd just give it a shot and ask you. Just winged it, and then she called her husband. They came to the door, and they're like, "Yeah, we have Cutco. We've actually been needing them sharpened." I'm like, "What?" So I go in there and I sold them 3,000 CPO. That was super cool because out of a random chance, I got a huge order. And she's been a great customer since then. And I've gone back to her house multiple times to sharpen her knives over the years. And she's bought thousands of CPO over the years as well. An older story, something that I would do a lot more, that I could certainly still do again, is when I would get no-showed. So early on in my career, I had this rule that whenever I would go to a demo and they weren't there, I would knock on both their neighbor's door before I would drive or leave to go make calls or go to the next demo that I had on my schedule. And I remember one time I was probably somewhere in Kingwood, Texas. I was no-showed. She didn't answer my text messages, my calls. I was totally ghosted. So I went to her neighbor's house, knocked on it, and told him about my scholarship goal at the time. And same, very similar situation. I told her like, "Hey, by the way, your neighbor Camry had scheduled me for an appointment, and they weren't there. I'm deep in this scholarship contest, and hey, I get credit just to go ahead and do these appointments, and I'm doing my best to win a scholarship. Would you guys be okay if I showed you guys some really cool knives, some really cool stuff called Cutco? They're known for famously for their knives." And the lady stopped and she was like, honey, the husband came up to the door. And as he was walking, the wife was saying, hey, we really need knives. There's this knife salesman at the door, which is crazy. So he's like, knives. Husband comes up and he's like, yeah, we've actually been needing some knives. So I ended up like, yeah, no obligation. Can I show you guys some cool stuff? And they're like, yeah, come in. And I sold a Galley plus 6. To this day, you know what? I should really send them a letter. This was like over 10 years ago. And that just gave so much confidence to me because after that story, especially the first couple of years of my career, I did that pretty consistently. And I created demos out of nowhere when I was no-showed. I remember I remember one of my favorite drives to make whenever I'm driving with somebody in my car that sells Cutco is when I drive them near my parents' house. Because one of the things I did when I first started selling Cutco too was I remember other reps doing something like this. I knocked on every single door on my street, to the left side of my parents' house, the left side of my parents' home, all those neighbors there, to the right side, the street across, the street around the corner, the cul-de-sac not too far down. I went ahead and knocked on every person's door and introduced them to myself. I was like, "Hey, I'm one of your neighbors. It's so funny that I haven't met you yet, especially the people I hadn't, or if I had." And I would explain to them my scholarship goal. And I did demos for a bunch of my neighbors. And it's honestly a really cool bragging moment to have a Petco buddy of mine as I'm driving to my parents' house for whatever reason. And I'm like, oh, they're my customer. They're my customer. Oh, and that's my customer over there. And, early on in my career, I don't know if Kathy's told you guys, but like my average order wasn't the hottest. I was probably averaging a knife or two per order. And what's hilarious is I've gone back to see many of my neighbors over the years and sold them so much more Cutco. Homemakers, gifts, business gifts, just all kinds of things have come from it. And I want this to stick with y'all because it's a mindset of just knowing that you can go ahead and get referrals anywhere, from anywhere, when you just go ahead and put yourself out there. I remember too, one of those houses, I wrote down this story, so I want to share real quick. One of the houses I went to, which was probably like 2 blocks over, sweet old lady, single. She bought a trimmer, maybe a spreader for me, and she gave me several referrals. And I went to go see, I think it was her nephew. He was a grown man. And I think he bought my second or third ever signature set with steak knives in my career, just a Siggy. I hadn't sold many at that point in my career, which I thought was really cool. And he gave me like 30, 35 referrals. So here is this kid who went to a neighbor's house, did a demo, sold what many of us would consider super small, a knife or whatever. She gave me some referrals, did my thing, called them, scheduled a demo, and then I got a Siggy sale with over 30 referrals from her list. And that's another thing I want to make sure that everybody like soaks in. You should always be grateful for every referral you get because every single referral has the potential to be a gem or to refer you to even more gems. And I'm always super, super grateful for every single referral I get from customers. It's just such a fun, I'm just always excited because I know there's a limitless potential for what can happen. And to this day, I get referrals from everywhere. So, well, I'll keep going down the list for you guys. The other thing I did early on in my career as well was I remember my manager at the time was talking about church directories. So I went to every single church that I grew up in. My parents raised me Catholic, and I went to every Catholic church in Humble and around Houston that my parents took me to, and I went to their, I guess, one of their offices at every church, and I would ask them for a church directory. And it was very simple. I would just ask them for a church directory. Sometimes I would just say things like, "Hey, I just want to connect to the community. I'm working on this scholarship project as well." And that's all they needed to hear from me to go ahead and get a church directory. And now I say this because when I branched the first time, I was out in Port Arthur, Texas, near Beaumont, where I had no customers. And I did this very thing to go ahead and show my reps at the time that you can get demos from anywhere. And I went to a small church, attended mass, spoke to the was it the priest? I guess the position is a pastor. Anyway, asked him for a church directory. I called the first page talking about my experience with the church and also the scholarship goal I had. I scheduled an appointment and I will never forget this sweet older lady. I went to her house, I sharpened her knives, and she ended up buying, no, she didn't have any knives. She bought a basic galley. Her daughter had knives from a long time ago. She used to sell Cutco. Fast forward 5 years later, I'm in Beaumont. I happen to remember that old lady's house. I knock on it to go say hi, and we catch up like old friends. And this is what I want you to take. She started talking to me about her daughter. It's like, yeah, my daughter is over there in Houston. She sold Cutco. That's actually how, like, this and that. And she told me a story. And I was like, hey, can I have your daughter's number? Maybe I can go ahead and show her some more Cutco or knives. And she's like, yeah. And there you go. The moment somebody brings up Cutco like that about somebody that has sold it or has it, I always ask for their number. And she gave me her daughter's number. She now lives somewhere in near the Woodlands with her husband. And I went to go see her, and she had her old Cutco rep demo knives from who knows how long ago. And I upgraded them to a signature set with table knives, something like that. So over 2K CPO, all from a conversation of visiting a past customer that just randomly brought somebody up that had Cutco. Opportunities like that are everywhere. And it's so cool when you capitalize on them because you're creating this network of really fun loving people that are connected to each other. And when you grow that week after week, month after month, year one, year two, your service calls when you go visit your past customers are through the roof, supportive and loving of you. And it's just something that I take for granted sometimes because that's all I've ever known. I've been mentored by Kathy's best friend, who's freaking awesome at at what we do, and he's lived this life, figured out, and he passes down to me. But I'm very grateful for it. And sometimes I just need a knock in the head to remind me how awesome my business is. I get sometimes swallowed up where I'm like, I'm not selling nowhere near where I want to sell, which is a life lesson. Be grateful. No matter what point in your career, you can always do better, but always be appreciative too. I know that as salespeople, we sometimes can be hard on ourselves as well. And then the other place that I really dug deep at the beginning of my career was social media. It changes over the years: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and all kinds of other social media platforms. But one of the biggest things I did was, I don't know if it's in today's manual, but I would message early on when I wanted to go ahead and get more leads. I remember I messaged every single social media account or friend, follower that I had on Facebook at the time. And I messaged them all the same thing, like saying, hey, so and so, I'm working on a scholarship for school. Do you mind if I give you a quick call? I'm trying to get credit. It'll be 1 minute. And I would copy and paste that and change the word a little bit so that way I wouldn't get spam blocked on Facebook Messenger. And I sent that to literally hundreds, if not over 1,000 people. And I got so many people's numbers, acquaintances from high school, people I met in college, people I met in X random place, had a quick conversation, and I would just ask them, I would tell them about my goal, and I would ask them for their parents' phone number. It's like, hey, so I actually need to go ahead and do this with an adult. This is my goal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I would go ahead and get a list of parents' phone numbers from this. I would call them right away and schedule them for demos. I have, to the point where there was this girl that I barely knew. She was my cousin's best friend from high school. They didn't even really talk too much at this point in my career anymore. But I remember I called her. I asked for her mom's number, called her, scheduled her for a demo. She bought, I'm not going to lie, I think she was my first homemaker plus eight. And it was a red homemaker. And it was the specials where we call it, at the time, my manager had a special where you could do a trade in, and I did a trade in special, and I was so excited. It was my first homemaker sale. And I've gone back to her house to upgrade her to an ultimate, sold her flatware, sold her mats. She's bought gifts for her kids. It's pretty freaking epic. So as you can get, as you can imagine, church directories, social media, neighbors, whenever anybody brings up Cutco, at this point in my early on in my career, I know I just gave you a homemaker story. I wasn't selling the greatest in terms of like my average order overall, but I was just getting demos nonstop. If whenever I wanted to, whenever I just put my mind to it, it was never an issue. It's still never an issue. And it's just so fun. Another place where like I enjoy getting referrals from is my family to this day, especially my older brother. All my sisters and my brother, I ask them every year or every few months, or just sometimes where I'm like, dang it, I really need more demos this week. I'll call them up and I'll ask them, "Hey sis, do you have any new friends yet? Did you meet anybody new at work? Um, have you met anybody, a new salesperson, insurance salesperson, realtor, anybody?" And I'll give my family thought joggers every time I call them for referrals. From their work circle, from their friend circle, from any community circle they're part, hobbies, I will ask them, and my siblings and my parents deliver nearly every time. And my beloved family is a constant source of referrals. My cousins, my aunts, uncles. So just remember, whenever you reach out to this amazing supportive network of family and friends you have. I mean, I've asked my best friends from high school before for referrals. I still would ask them to this day if I wanted to. It's not a big deal. The idea is that you do it in a fun way. You're asking them, you share your goal of, like, you want to win a trip to this, you want to win a scholarship, whatever fun goal you can come up with. Like, hey, I just want to be number one this week. Buddy, do you have anybody that's really cool that you think would love some cool knives? I would call my friend Zary and ask him something like that. So giving thought joggers when you call your friends and family for help on referrals is super strategic. And I tell you this because they will put the effort to figure stuff out for you. And when you help them like that, it makes their job easier to help you because they want to help you. They love you. So the next place that's super fun where I've gotten like random demos from is where you live, your community. So I've said this story before too, but my favorite two that I think are kind of funny is my haircut lady. Well, back then when I was getting constant haircuts, I talked to her, once every other month to get a haircut. And so she would always ask me, "How are you doing? How's your life doing? Like, what do you do for work again?" And I would tell them about my Cutco stuff, my not must they how I'm selling knives. Like, "Oh, maybe someday I could use knives." And I was like, "Yeah." And I tried to do a demo for her, and she was like, "No, I'm not, I don't really cook like that." And I was like, "Okay, that's fine." And so then I go to the cashier, who happens to be the owner of the hair salon, and she goes, "Oh, what a nice ring you have." And I was like, "Oh yeah, the company I work for they gifted it to me. I earned it after selling so much Cutco." What's Cutco? Really nice stuff for the kitchen. And we got into the conversation, and I was like, "Hey," and I just asked her, and here's the theme behind this entire talk, guys. I just asked her, I was like, "Hey, Phyllis, I'm working really hard towards this crazy goal to, maybe at that point it was to win another trip. Whatever fun goal I have in that moment, guys, I share it." I was like, "Phyllis, I'm working really hard for this crazy goal to win a trip to New Zealand to take me and my girlfriend out, or to win a scholarship, whatever fun goal you can come up with. Would you be okay if I showed you and your husband the really cool kitchen stuff Cutco makes? No obligation. Like, I'd really love to come by and show you guys. I'm gonna be. I don't know if you guys live around here, but I'm doing appointments all week and next week." And she was like, "Yeah, actually, we could use some knives." And I scheduled her for a demo the following week. I went to her house and she bought an ultimate set with steak knives for me, guys. That's so crazy. Fast forward. My girlfriend Adriana goes routinely to UPS to help me ship off packages to the factory for Cutco's for customers' knives. And my and I'll get to this point at some part. That's well, I guess that's the next part of my talk. But she the lady was like, "Cutco, I've heard of that before." This is what my girlfriend was telling me happened. This is at the lady that she was talking to UPS when she was shipping off packages. Like, "I've heard of Cutco before. Actually, I think I have a knife or two." And then Adriana told me that she was like, "Oh, really? Yeah, my boyfriend sharpens the Cutco knives. He sells them and sharpens them." And he's like, "Really? Yeah. Do you want me to go ahead and get you his number?" And then she's like, "Yeah." And then she's like, "Hey, well, if it's like I say, what's your number? I'll have him reach out to you too, and you guys can set up a good time." It's like, "Here you go." My girlfriend Adriana went, got me a lead. I called her right afterwards. She was like, "Yeah, actually, can you come by later today? I have a quick break before I have to go." She was the owner of the UPS store. I go there and she buys 500 CPO Cutco. And I was like, and I got referrals from her. That's so stupid. Like, not stupid, but like stupid, crazy, fun, right? So here's my next lesson is, guys, get a wingman. Whether it's your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your fiance, wife, husband, your best friend, a cousin, One of my things that I've recently embraced in my career after 13 years of selling Cutco, I wish I embraced this early on in my career. And I can't believe it's taken me this long to really realize it. It's naturally happened through my family at family gatherings where my brother will bring it up. He's wingman before. He's wingman me into selling an ultimate before. My sisters have helped wingman me to selling homemakers with their friends. But I've never thought about it like this because I used to complain. I'm like, I'm here with my family. I don't want to work, blah, 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 blah. So Thanksgiving a couple of years ago, I'm there with my girlfriend Adriana, and I'm visiting her side of the family's, her brother's husband's family in Wisconsin. Okay, so we're there having a Thanksgiving dinner, and her brother, my girlfriend's brother-in-law's family is in front of me. One of them, I think, being an uncle, asked me, "So what do you do?" Just out of curiosity. And my girlfriend, no, no, no. He's like, "So it's like, where are you from?" I was like, "From Texas." And then my girlfriend does this, like, "He sells Cutco. You should tell him about it." And I'm like rolling my eyes. I'm like, "Babe, we're here at Thanksgiving dinner. Why are you bringing up work stuff?" And so my girlfriend just hypes me up there, and I'm like, "Oh, so what's Cutco?" This guy goes, and I'm like, "It's really high end stuff for the kitchen. They're known for knives, cookware, flatware." And they have a bunch of cool outdoor stuff. Like, what kind of outdoor stuff? And I was like, well, are you familiar with K-Bar? K-Bar? I love K-Bar. The blah, 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 blah. He went on. In the middle of Thanksgiving with this random person, guys, I sold a K-Bar outdoorsman. That's just like crazy as well. Because here I am randomly in these places, and my girlfriend's just hyping me up. A few weekends ago, we go to my girlfriend's cousin's nephew's or cousin's son's birthday party or graduation party, and we're outside. We're playing beer pong with water. We're not even playing beer pong with beer because we're a bunch of 30-year-olds, and we're all like, we all have to go to work tomorrow, and we're all laughing about this. This is hilarious. And I'm talking outside of the beer pong table with a couple of guys that are into tech. And I'm a very nerdy guy. We geek out about it a bit. And then my girlfriend is like, they talk about their companies that they work for, and my girlfriend does this. Hey, you should tell them about Cutco Gifts. I'm like, gosh darn it, babe. At 1 in the morning, after everybody's already drunk and having a good time, I'm like, here now I'm gonna go into work mode. I'm like, so guys, yeah, Cutco gifts. They were really amazing. A lot of people do all kinds of stuff that people forget about with Cutco. You can engrave your logo, personalize it to a person's family last name, tell them they're the best, an anniversary, whatever it is, and you can gift them. People do it in our pocket knives and our kitchen knives. It's really amazing. It's a beautiful gift, an investment that just keeps on giving. Something quick like that. And they're like, really? Actually, our gifts suck. We've been wanting to go ahead and look into more gifts. And here I am at 1 in the morning having a business conversation. Well, I got their phone number, their email, and now we're talking about getting business gifts for their company, and the conversation is gone. Like, Adriana, my girlfriend, is the best wingman ever. So have whenever you go into family gatherings or these parties, if you can have somebody that just can hype you up like that, it is the easiest way to go ahead and get more leads. And then you can go ahead and have a conversation. And then here's the next step. A wingman is amazing. The conversation is great, but capitalizing it, not just for a sell, but for more referrals. Something my mentor told me a long time ago, and I ran with it. I don't even know if he knows I do this to this day. He told me always have your referral book on you. Just have it in your car at all times. I'm like, why? So that way you can make calls anywhere and everywhere at any time. And I was like, sweet. I can schedule more demos. He's right. I can always work if I have break. If I have a break from classes, I can go to my car and schedule more demos, which is true. I did that for so many years. I mean, I still do that. I don't go to school, but like, you know what I mean. So the thing that I want to capitalize on is when people start talking to you about your demo stuff, about your Cutco stuff, because they ask you, like this business gift lead situation or that Cutco K-Bar outdoorsman, now, that was in Wisconsin, but this actually happens often in my life, especially with my own family. They're like, Pancho, which is my family calls me and all my friends. They're like, Pancho, what are you doing? like, what are you doing nowadays? I'm just selling. I'm working for this. I work. I sell Cutco. Yada yada yada. I tell them everything. They're like, really? Normally, we start going into my goals. This is very normal. That happens with family. And I'll be like, yeah, actually, I've been looking for some more referrals around the area. Hey, by any chance, do you have any cool people you could refer me to real fast? Like any one person or whomever? And they're like, yeah, actually, um, Federico, he would be cool to call. He would probably use some knives. Like, all right, and that's my cue. I run to my car, I grab my journal, my rec book, and I run back to them, hand them a pen, and I'm like, can you write it down for me? Now, this is strategic. I don't just write down the referral that they're going to give me. I don't just go ahead and have them write it down on a piece of paper because I will lose it and I'm not going to call them. I have them write it down in my journal. And here's the thing that causes when people start writing down in your rec book, when they see this is your book of business, when they see other people's numbers, naturally, they're way more inclined to, like, oh, I have another person I can write down for you. And out of nothing, a random family gathering, a random party, a random place I'm at where my Cutco career is being talked about, I've got them excited because I'm just transferring my energy of my excitement for my goals. I am now getting referrals on, it's not even a demo. I'm just getting referrals from this random person I just met on that day. And another thing to step up your game with, like, that enthusiasm, that seriousness, how important referrals are to you, is at some point in my career I upgraded my spiral bound notebook. And you don't have to do this. I use a spiral bound notebook for years. It works really well. Is I went to Office Depot, and I bought a leather bound journal, and I bought a really nice pen. And that's what I hand over to all my customers. Here's an old one, right? This is what I hand over to all my customers. It's numbered all the way to the bottom, right? So I can constantly ask for referrals and or get as many referrals as possible. And when they see the black book, when they see a really nice pen and they start writing, they're like, whoa, this is a really nice pen. It brings so much fun energy. So my philosophy is, how can I subtly or not subtly bring in a bunch of great positive energy into the referral part of my business? This is with any Cutco person. And so whenever I come into the room and I'm getting referrals, what does that cause when somebody's writing down referrals? Somebody else in that room will see what's going on. And they're like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" "Oh, I'm helping out Pancho with some people, so you can go ahead and show and sell Cutco too." Cutco conversation starts, and now it's like a magnet, a runoff magnet. People are just giving me more referrals in that room that I barely know, but this person just spoke for me, and now it's fun. This is what I do in my demos. Same thing. When I'm sitting down with a client and I'm getting referrals, as soon as their daughter walks in, their grandfather, their uncle, their neighbor, their best friend, their insurance person, their salesperson, their lawn mowing people, whoever walks into that home, especially when I'm getting referrals from the person I just did a demo for, I'm like, hey, what's your name? Nice to meet you. I'm Pancho, the knife guy. Do you have any cool people that would I could show these really, and I'm at a demo, so I have my knives set that I can show these really amazing kitchen stuff to, kitchen knives, you yourself, I don't know if you're interested, or anybody. And they're like, I do, I have one person, right? And I'm serious when I say I'll ask their daughter or their son, whether they're in high school or middle school, because they'll also bring up people like, oh, my mom, my coach, what about my teacher, Mrs. So, and this and that. So I get everybody involved. And you can do that in a demo. You can do that outside a demo, just as long as you have fun with it and you have a book for people to write referrals in. The whole writing process is magical. So please remember that philosophy of just like asking everybody, right, having them write down in your journal, and then just inviting people to go ahead and support you. And oh, okay, let me see if I can do this one right. So we're almost to one of my favorite stories. Ask for referrals from your referrals that you call. So this is something I recently started doing in my career too. Probably started a couple of years ago, I think. Whenever there are people that I talk to when I'm calling them for a demo, a referral, right? I'm like, "Hey, Candace, your friend Brittany said I could give you a call. How you doing?" I was like, "She told me that you're really nice, which I hope is true." Ha ha ha. And then I go into my phone approach. When I have a great conversation with somebody and they don't book a demo, but I can tell they're kind, they're super nice, bubbly, high energy. I just vibe with them really well. I now routinely ask them, "Hey, by the way, Candace, do you, I know this is out of nowhere, but like, do you have any other cool friends like Brittany that referred me to you that you could refer me to? Maybe I could show them Cutco." At this point, I've already had a full conversation. I've shared my goal with them. They know I'm competing for a trip to Jamaica, to New Zealand, to Spain, to a scholarship, to whatever, right? To be number one in the company. They already know my goal. So I'm like, so I was like, "Hey, Candice, do you know anybody like your friend Brittany that referred me to you that you could refer me to? I really want to win this thing. It's fine. I know it's random. Like, do you know one person, anybody?" Sometimes people say no. Sometimes people will send me 10, 15 referrals by text when they're just a referral. I called them. I haven't even met them in person, but their friend that referred me to them, the energy we just shared, boom. Now I'm gonna call those referrals. I'm gonna go see them, and then they're gonna buy an ultimate set with steak knives from me. And they're like, "By the way, so like, how did you meet Candace?" They're like, "Actually, I met Brittany. She gave me Candace's number, and then she was like, no, and she was like, hey, call Gabby." And I was like, "You didn't even meet Candace?" And I was like, "No, she just gave me her number." She's like, "That woman." And then they'll laugh about it. And they're like, "I'm going to give her so much mess." And here I am selling a homemaker, a ultimate, or whatever. And it's just funny the referral stories you can share with your customers. It's a wildfire of just fun moments that just ignite more inspiration in each customer to give you more referrals because they see how much of a fun, outgoing person, and they'll trust you more because they're like, I can tell that if Pancho convinces them to say yes, the moment Pancho steps foot into my buddy's home, even if it's the richest person, if it's Pancho, it's game over. They're gonna buy something. Customers have told me stuff like that because it's true. It's game over, right? So another thing too that I've done recently for if anybody here has been doing events or if anybody hears this talk later on, I've been doing it more and more, and it's been helping out a lot more. Is if I'm doing an event somewhere, a market, something small, local, doesn't matter. Um, I have a referral book out next to me almost always now when I'm working at an event. And why do I do that? It's because just like on the phone, I have people walk by my booth, have a fun conversation with me. Maybe they didn't want to buy, but I had great energy with them, and I'll ask them for referrals. And they'll write down referrals for me. And I'll have them text the head, send a heads up text message. "Heads up, my awesome friend Poncho is giving you a call, nice, showing nice kitchen stuff, yada yada yada, from your friend Xavier, whatever." So I do the same thing I would do in home with people that I meet at events, with people that I meet over the phone, and just ask them for referrals. Now, don't get me wrong, at a booth, if I had a great conversation and they bought from me, yeah, I'm gonna ask them for referrals. Because you can ask for referrals anywhere. And that's what's like really insane. And I feel like that mentality, a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people can have that mentality, and they should. So asking for referrals anywhere and being creative about it. That's what's really cool. And also, I wrote this down because why do I ask people that I have great vibes with? If you had a conversation with somebody about your career and they didn't buy, or they weren't interested, they just they're not in their timeline in their time, they're not at a point in their life yet to buy Cutco or whatever, but they had a great time with you. You've got to understand they like you as a person. And when people like you, they want to support you. When I meet people and they share me this passionate goal and I just had a great conversation with them, I wish I could help them. If they're selling $1 million yacht and they're like trying to be number one. Don't get me wrong, I don't have $1 million yet to buy a yacht like that, but do I want to help them? Yeah, I wish I could be that guy for them. My point is, there's so many people in our lives that we meet that they want to support you and they want to be that person that can buy that ultimate, that homemaker. They really do. But if they can't, they can help you with referrals. And so many people will. So anyway, I guess I'm just saying that because that's at the core of my philosophy. Have a good time with a person. They're going to want to refer you. You don't have to be in a demo to make that happen. And also another place where I get awesome referrals from are my favorite customers. Whether you've been in the job for a week, 2 weeks, a month, a year, you probably have that awesome customer already. And you can call them, tell them about your crazy goal, and you can probably ask them for more referrals. I say this because I still do this to this day. I have people, customers from 10 years ago, that I call them up. Like James Cabrera is my favorite guy. He's giving me the most referral business of my career. The guy at the rodeo was telling me, like, hey, they have a rodeo booth here. You should check them out, but call my friend Pancho. Actually, I'll go ahead and text him right now and I see where he's available so you can go to your house. My buddy, my customer James, randomly texted me this situation, real scenario, scheduled me for a demo, sold an ultimate. 6 months prior to that, he texted me a picture from Facebook. I hadn't talked to him in months, and he's like, "Hey, Pancho, there's this person in our Facebook community group that says they're looking for their knife sharpened or they're looking for Cutco." And so he sent me a picture of her Facebook profile, and I was like, "Do you have a little bit more information, like the something, 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 so I can find them?" He's like, "Oh yeah." He took me a screenshot, sent it to me, searched her on Facebook, added her as a friend, sent her a message. Within 24 hours, she responded like, "Hey, yeah, I've been needing a Cutco guy." I scheduled her for a demo. She actually doesn't have Cutco, and she buys a signature set with steak knives. That's James, my customer. That's crazy. And I'll just randomly call him like, "Hey, James, I'm in this X goal to sell 10K for SE1. I got to get one more referral. Do you have another cool friend?" And he's like, "Try my buddy's mom. She just got a divorce. She lost her Cutco. She probably needs more Cutco." Something crazy like that. And so I have customers that I remember that I'll just call and have those fun conversations with. It's super wild. That reminds me. Well, okay, I'll get to that point in a bit. Well, John Duffy is a great customer of mine. He bought $20,000 of CPO and business gifts from me the other year. And I just called him last week because one of my buddies was selling a discontinued Cutco item, and he answered right away. And he was so happy to hear from me. I need to ask him for referrals. Anyway, I'm just saying that out because I need to remember to do that. I'm actually going to write a note for myself. Give you a sec. Sorry, I just don't want to forget this. So, John. Okay. So, yes. And then the last part's now your customers. Yeah, same thing. When you call your customers too, give them thought joggers, have fun, and get more referrals from them. Now, when you sell to your friends, oh, and when you sell to their friends, especially like people like James, like my customer, when you sell to your friends, don't promise your customers you're going to get them Cutco. Just give them a surprise gift whenever you sell something big or you sold to three of them and they bought each like $600, which is 1,800. Buy a thank you peeler, ask your manager, do whatever you need, send them an old knife you have, send them a thank you Cutco item, and so like, "Hey, thank you so much for these referrals. You rock, James." James has referred me to $30,000 plus of CPO. I've given him a pocket knife for the past two ultimates. I didn't have to spend that much money, but that pocket knife meant so much for him. It meant so much to him. He brags about it to this day. Just remember, when you have those people that really want to support you like that you reward them with really nice thank yous. And if at the very least, write a letter. So tell them thank you. The finale is, I'll finish with this. Call old leads like from a year ago, 6 months ago, because at some point they become fresh again. They forget that you even called the first time if you talk to them. That's something I take advantage of to this day. I'll call leads from like 2 years ago, and they'll be like, even though they said something weird, wishy washy, they call me back, and I called back multiple times. They didn't answer. Anyway, they become fresh at some point. You can call them again, and it's like a regular referral. They won't even remember you. Okay, so this is what I want to end with, and I kind of wish I could post this on the Zoom chat somewhere so you guys can save it. I'll send it to Kathy afterwards.
You can.
Okay. after getting referrals in your appointments, okay? And it doesn't have to be on appointments. This could be where you live now, your parents, your cousins, whoever. Community apps exist for everybody. There's the Nextdoor app, there's Facebook community groups for a neighborhood, wealthy neighborhoods, non-wealthy neighborhoods, just nice neighborhoods. Just there's community groups for everything you can think of, but especially just like neighborhood groups. So you can extend this to others, but I'm going to target neighborhood groups. Ask all your customers, post it yourself. If you don't know how to sharpen knives yet, I really recommend you sharpen knives now. But even if it's not about sharpening, you can still put like, hey, if anybody needs knives, I'm the local guy for knives and for the area here for Cutco. I have my customers, I used to do this a lot, and I should do it more again. I have them post in their Nextdoor app. I have them post in their Facebook community groups. I have them post, especially if you meet anybody that's in barbecue cook-off groups or just barbecues. You can ask them. They usually have groups. I ask them to post something like this, and I just copy and paste it from my phone, and I go ahead and send them this. Free Cutco sharpening. Hi, neighbors. I just had my Cutco knife sharpened by a nice gentleman, Francisco Herrera, aka Pancho. It was fast and free. Here's his number if you need your Cutco knife sharpened or need anything new. Phone number, my website, my email, copy and paste. I have people send that. I've posted something similar like that for myself in my communities Nextdoor app, and I've gotten so many great appointments from that. It's crazy. So what I'm saying is, you can create a bunch of appointments from every person you meet in a way you could never imagine if you just go ahead and put yourself out there and capitalize on all these ways of getting referrals or leads. And so just be hungry. Be a pro at thought joggers, be charismatic and be charming, which just means have fun and show gratitude. As long as you have fun and you're very grateful for everything they give you, say, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you're going to be a very likable person. Smile, have fun. You got it. Um, I think that's it, Kathy. There's another scenario I want to go through about divorcees, but
They can
if
talk to
people,
you Monday. They can talk to you Monday about it.
all right.
I actually had a quick question to segue into there. That is actually more sales related. You know, when you first started, you weren't really strong there, and so you're amazing with referrals and getting referrals. But you've also like, what helped you get over the hump of like, I don't know whether it was, I don't know for you being younger, if it was not believing people could get it, if it was that you didn't have the right people, if it was like, what was the shift for you from selling very little to being one of the biggest and best closers that we had in like a year, like it just flipped the switch. What are some of the things that helped with that? Because I'm curious if it was like, really when getting referrals, like targeting certain people, or if it was just a belief in you, what switched there? Because yeah, you've sold a lot of Cutco.
So I think there's an important process to this. I will remember this, Kathy. I've always had a high closing ratio. Now, I never thought it was high until other people pointed it out. Um, I've always had like a 80, 90 plus percent closing ratio, even when I was had a very low average order. And that was because of my belief in the manual, but in the structure of the manual, the whole drop down process. If you talk to some of my customers randomly, if you meet them, I mean, I've had some of my peers say this to me. My older customers will be like, yeah, Pancho, like he would like very rarely, and I mean this very kind of in a laughing way, right? Because we all grow. They're like, yeah, he was really pushy, like he wouldn't leave. And I was like, one of my buddies told me this about a customer. I was like, ah, I dropped down because I believed in that process like nothing mattered. The demo is not over until you just have fun and drop down from the homemaker set to the starters to the buy three get one free to the reserve first call special, whatever it is. I always drop down, and if a manager taught me a new step, I would add it to my drop down process. And so I always had fun. Now, that's like the 1%, 1% of 1% of customers, right? 99 plus percent of my customers are like, Punch is so fun, he's amazing, right? I'm not saying everybody's like he's really pushy or whatnot. Um, so the thing that took the average order to through the roof was I was always having fun with finding a way to show an awesome deal. So as soon as my manager taught me the trade-in special, um, uh, maybe you can go ahead and do like free this or free. I learned I used the free get free shears and a free kitchen tool set because sometimes a manager would go ahead and help me give free stuff and build it up. And I used everything that my manager would use with me to go ahead and build as much energy on that closing portion, meaning I was just having fun with it. And as soon as somebody important like Andy walked into my life and told me close on the ultimate, that was one of the first pieces of advice he told me. He was like, close on the ultimate. He didn't give me any other words of advice on that. I just went ahead and started closing the ultimate like it was a homemaker. And instead of giving the super shears for free, I was giving the kitchen tool set for free and like 4 gadgets, which is a crazy deal. But the point is that because of this deal I had created for the ultimate, based off what my manager had taught me, the manual had shown, I was so excited to go ahead and show it sweaty because I wasn't used to closing on $3,000 or 4,000 at that time. I would go ahead and close with such high energy because of how excited I was for the deal for the customer. And that process of just dropping down no matter what and always showing an amazing deal for the customer that I truly believe was awesome for the customer, that helped me sell so much more. I would say that's what was the secret to my average order, other than consistency and the things outside of the sales process.
Yeah. And this is a really big thing that I wanted to point out, and I put it in the chat earlier, the fun energy with referrals, but there's a transfer of excitement and enthusiasm that happens, right? From one person to another. And so Francisco, if we joke around when we talk about him in our office, and we're like, you gotta like it's like Cutco crack, it's like, you gotta see this, right? There's this excitement
Yeah.
that's there, that customers feed off of, right? Like they're like, oh my gosh, like they get excited. Because if I was like, you gotta see this, you're like, what? Right? Like if I'm all pumped. And that was something that I saw like Francisco naturally had, and I felt like Andy was such a good match for him for mentoring when he started, because Andy's very like high energy and like but and he really knows how to use it, if that so to speak, right? Like how to really transfer that to customers. Do they see you really believe in this? Whether it's showing them a deal where you're like, oh my gosh, Miss Sandra, like I got to show you this. Like if you guys did this, you could do that. Do you like that better? Or you want to go with what you're going with. And when they really see that you're excited about the deal, you're excited about whatever you're showing them, or passing on, they get more excited, right? Well, with referrals, I've seen so many newer reps, and it's like you're dropping down, like the lower you go, the lower your energy goes, where it should get more exciting because you're getting closer
True.
to, what they can get. But then when you get to referrals, it's like, well, here's where you can really help me out. It's like almost like you're sad when you get to asking for referrals because maybe you didn't sell everything you wanted, but your energy has to go up. Like referrals and getting leads should be the most exciting part of your presentation. Should be your highest energy of like, because no matter what happened with the sale, here's where you can really help me out, right? We know that whether they bought or not, whether they bought big, medium, or small, they can open a network and introduce you to people that could help you get further in your goals. And so it all goes back to, do customers know your goals? Pancho does an incredible job with that. Like his book, all his like what would be your PowerPoint now, and like pictures of what he's working for, and when he has big contests that he's going after for, whether it's playoffs or Super Bowl or whatever it is, there's a visual and he's tying them in and he's talking about it. And you guys heard him talk about outside of demos, right? Are you always talking about stuff? Are you bringing things up? Are you constantly getting leads? That's something that he does really, really well. But he also does an incredible job on his actual presentations, transferring, like really enrolling customers, transferring that enthusiasm, that he's at a level like 12 energy, on a scale of 1 to 10, he's at a 12 or 13, but then his customers are at a level 10 and they're super pumped and excited, right? And so do an energy check is something I would recommend to everyone because I've watched Fran for many years, and that is something that he just has, I feel, has learned how to really harness, and
I
he's
agree.
so good at transferring.
Yeah, because I definitely had people on demos early on in my career. It's just so crazy when a customer tells you to your face. They said I was so hyped. I'm closing on the homemaker, this, that, and then they were like, "No." So then I go to the galley, and I'm like, "Yeah, here's a galley. Here's this, that," and they're like, "No." And then we get to a studio, and they were like, the customer's genuinely interested at the studio, like, this, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's the studio." And then it comes to that, and then flat out, I remember this customer vividly saying, "Yo, so what happened to your energy? You were so excited over here and now you're not." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." And then I realized, "Oh my gosh, how many times have I been doing that to customers without realizing it, ruining their excitement about buying Cutco, period." And now I always make sure that I always, like Kathy said, I have an energy check. It's kind of, natural at this point, but sometimes you need somebody to tell you.
Yeah, but I mean, I remember times Andy and I growing up in the business because we were, accountability partners, and I was going into a demo or something was going on personally, and like, we would call each other. Like sometimes I knew my energy wasn't where it needed to be. And I was like, Andy, I'm just, like this is going on today, or this was going on personally. He's like, all right, look in the mirror, like you're like, I'm whatever, he's like, I'm Kathy, Mother Stinking Vasquez, and I'm gonna go be the highlight of their day, or like they're gonna be better because they met me. And whatever it is, he'd be like, look in the mirror, say this right now. We'd pump each other up because we knew like how we showed up for our customer made a really big difference in the results that you had. And something simple that we all learned young is like, put on a favorite song. You guys have all been somewhere, I'm sure, and maybe just like kind of like blah energy, or maybe you were kind of having a down day and a song came on, whether it was at the mall or in your car or wherever, and it picks your spirits up. It takes you somewhere. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Has this happened to anybody before, right? And you're like, oh, and maybe you weren't having a bad day, but you're just kind of like blah, just doing your thing. And then you're like, oh my gosh, right? And it's like there's something that like brings you up. And so, can you guys have some of those? Before you go into a demo, it's like no matter what happens, you get to be the highlight of their day. All right. You're going to show them so, and the more fun you have and the more energy you bring, guess what? The better results you're going to have. All right. Don't just go through the motions. Don't just go and read your script. That is something Pancho does not do. Okay. Like have fun with your customers. Be the highlight of their freaking day. And we know when that happens, when they have more fun, naturally you'll have more sales, but you will always get more referrals because they love you, they love your energy, they had a blast with you, and they want to see how they can be a part of your journey. So I just, again, from observation, I wanted to point that out, and we can open it up real quick before I dive into SLDM with any questions that you guys want to ask Fran real quick, and then he will be at the conference on Monday, and so attack him. No.
Yes,
Um,
I will definitely be the first. So Francisco, I mean, yeah, I really noticed that your energy is just consistently high. You keep it at like a base level, and you even say like in the demo you do checks. So how do you go about keeping that energy up during the days when you have like five, six demos?
The adrenaline. I mean, it's the adrenaline and also just being healthy, or finding ways to be healthy. Because whenever you are feeding yourself, junk food and not hydrating and not sleeping as well. You know what? Honestly, in my early 20s, I didn't matter as much, but I have been hospitalized for not doing that. So I say this now: be healthy, go for a walk, drink, eat. Number one, super important long term. To keep it consistent though, yeah, the adrenaline does drive, and and also just there's a faith. I've done so many pushes. I worked so many times around school, sleep deprived, all these situations where I am exhausted. And unless I'm getting really sick, there's no excuse. The moment I walk up to a person's house and push that doorbell, any anxiety, any tiredness, anything I've had vanishes. And I just go in there because I truly believe I'm here to give this person the best experience ever. And I get energy from seeing another person smile or when they open the door, and 99% of the time, they are excited for the Cutco guy to come in. Like, oh, who's this guy? And I always do something cheesy to this day, and it's funny. And I don't know if it's anyway. It's funny. Something I do when I walk into a customer's home, or as soon as I open the door, and I'm like, I always throw my hand up in there, like, I made it. I'll do something like that. And then they're like, they kind of chuckle and whatnot, but like, I'm already looking for a way to infuse energy from the moment I'm saying hi. Yeah, it does it have to be, does your way have to be the cheesy this? No. I'm just saying, whatever matches your personality, whatever makes you feel confident. I will say a bunch of things that make me feel confident that may not be for you, but the idea stays the same. Do something that allows you to proudly infuse energy in that moment. So that's my answer. It's just it goes away as soon as I push the doorbell. Or any tiredness or any concern I would have goes away. The energy stays.
Yeah. I used to cut a flower penny before getting there. And then when I knock on the door, like I brought you a flower. But
Oh yeah.
they'd be
See?
like, what the heck? Right? Like they'd be like, I'm like, oh, don't worry, I'm gonna show you. But like they already knew like we were gonna have some fun and they were already intrigued, right? Like I'm not as exciting as Poncho, but I like found something to like make him smile or like, you
I'm
know,
not gonna lie, a flower petty, and they're like, I can't wait to show you because that's a pretty exciting way to start an appointment, Gabby, at the door.
yeah, that's what I used to do. I stole that from some professional. I was like, I like that.
I've never even
Uh,
thought about that one. That's hilarious.
hey, you're welcome to steal it, what we all share. But it's just, the goal is like they're like there's an anticipation as they wait for you, right? We used to do the penny in the fridge or whatever. They're like, what is this penny for? But just the more you let them know that they're gonna have a great time, the more fun that they're gonna have, the better results you're gonna have. So any other
Yes.
quick question? No, go ahead.
No, that's true. Actually, I'm actually thinking about doing the penny thing again on the fridge. I haven't done that in a long time. That's a fun one.
Mhm. Anybody else? Any other quick questions you have now? And then you can think of more for Monday.
There's been like a handful of demos that I have where, you have super high energy and, you come in like super happy, super excited to show. And then you just happen to have that couple that's kind of like talking to a brick wall. And like once you get to the referrals and it's kind of like painful almost to keep, asking them or like, whatever. How do you deal with like the energy not, I guess, being reciprocated or like not even being there? It's like completely zero in a way.
Yeah, so I have those moments to this point in my career. Like, there's just something you can't do about it, but you also can never assume, and you really can never assume. I have talked to brick wall customers where they were like, "No, I don't need to cut anything. No, just move on to the next thing." And I'm like, "All right."
Seven grand order was one of those.
Yeah, and I've sold crazy stuff from it, like a signature set or whatever. So you can never assume. First of all, can you make them reciprocate? You can always find tools to engage a person and get them excited. There was like this advice I heard from somebody, like compliment the person and find something in common, and that is a way for you to start building rapport naturally. A compliment, find something in common, and you can make the person like you more. Um, that's a strategy you can use. But like I said, there's tools we can always practice and employ to help us make a person like you more and enjoy the moment more. But there's sometimes where you just, no matter what you do, they're not gonna they're gonna be a brick wall. and that's okay. So that's where your faith in yourself has to persevere. You believe in the process and you push through. Same thing once you get to the referrals. I know there to this point there are times in my career where I'm like, I'm gonna ask anyway. I'm gonna ask. And you know what? Now that I say that out loud, I go through my referral approach. I ask for referrals, and like I've had a customer like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. And I'm like, don't worry, John. Just you know me. If I want to go to sleep with a clear, happy conscience, I have to try. Is there anyone, John, off your fridge? I don't care who, a realtor, a salesperson, any lawn mowing people, anybody that you don't even care about. That, and I make it a joke, right? Like anybody you don't really care about, or anybody you hate, John, anybody you could put down. And do I get referrals from that all the time? No, but sometimes they'll be like, you know what? I'll get you this person. Um, there's a strategy I'll sometimes employ. Customers will sometimes say something in the middle of the appointment. They'll be like, Ron would use these. They'll say something like that. Or like, you know who could use these? My cousin. Or they'll say something like that. And I'll just take a mental note and I'll get to the end and I'll ask for referrals. And like, again, it's like a brick wall. And they'll be like, I faith in myself. I'm going to go through the approach. I'm going to do my thing that I do for referrals. And at the very end, as my saving grace, or I guess my Hail Mary, really, is I'll be like, hey, John, would you be cool just putting that cousin down? And they'll be like, yeah, sure, whatever. And they'll put the cousin down. Or they'll be like, or here's my Hail Mary. It's like, hey, by the way, I don't even want to talk to them, John. Like, here's a text message you can go ahead and send them. Like, this is what everybody, like, so that way they go ahead and give the approval first. I copy and paste. I just, whatever, regardless of what the customer says, I just copy and paste it and send it to the customer. It says, there's one in your manual too, whatever version you want to use. This is just the one I use. Heads up, my awesome friend Punch is going to give you a call. He's a nice guy showing Cutco, really amazing kitchen stuff, yada, yada, yada. John. I'll copy and paste and that to them. It's like, hey, can you send that to your cousin Ron real quick? I mean, you can give him to me. It's like, I know you say you don't want to give me his number, but like maybe at least he'll say yes. And I've had people say yes, respond like, yeah, that's fine, cool. So, like having faith in yourself. And if you see, even no matter, I gave you a brick wall scenario just now, but what I want you to understand is I had faith in the process and I still found a way to ask. I've been working on these tools over my career, and you'll hear them from me, other people, take them in, but no matter what, it's just you having the discipline to just do it. I'm not gonna lie, you just gotta do it because you never know. You can't assume. You just can't.
Yeah, and some of those, like, I think what happens to us sometimes when we have those customers that are just totally dead is that then they reflect on us and we're kind of like, oh, like for me, my energy came down with some of those. And so I had to learn to just try to stay as stable as I could, even though I was like, what the heck? Why didn't they say no on the phone? Why are they so,
It's
why are
true.
they so blah? And I'm like, I'm gonna go through and I like my worst customer, she was the meanest lady, like just so like did not want to be there. And I'm like, why did she say yes to the demo? $7,000 order, this lady, and I got 12 referrals from them, and I was like, what? Like just so confused, right? And so just keep going, keep showing. You don't know what's going on. And you also sometimes don't know what's going on in their world. They could have just gotten some really bad news. They could have whatever, and they're just kind of like,
This is very true. I
yeah.
have made the mistake to assume that the person is just not a good person and got bit in the butt when they were like, my sister just, my mom, somebody just passed away, something just sad, or like my dog just passed away. I've had that one before in the middle of a demo. And I was like, what's happening? And then you find out
In the middle of a demo.
after the fact, like, that rarely happens, but like, you do have to consider like people are humans, man. They just, sometimes you never know what they're going through. So it's also being empathetic.
Mm.
That's a great point of advice, Kathy. And it's a great reminder for me too, because sometimes I'm hard on myself, but when you're empathetic in those moments, it can help. Actually, it does help 100%. It really does.
Yeah, big time. Love it. Awesome, guys. Anyone else have a quickie? We're gonna go. Well, thank you so much, Francisco, for taking time today. I don't know if any final parting words before we get to celebrate with you on your birthday Monday. I'm super excited for that. But anything else that you would share here? And if not, I would say definitely catch him at his table. Go mingle, come with questions. One of the best sales reps we've ever had. I've never heard him talk about this. And so it was cool to hear like how he's always getting leads everywhere. But he also does an incredible presentation. He knows how to suggest wish list, like keeping a lookout with customers and really doing the best service by the customers. And I think one of the things I love about Francisco is how much he believes in Cutco and truly feels everyone should own it, right? And if someone doesn't purchase, it's like almost like he feels bad, like they're not going to get to own it. But if it's up to him, he's going to try to find a way to see what they like and find the best deal so they could start their Cutco collection. And he just has such a belief in the product. And so yeah, you guys will get some great stuff chatting with him. So any parting words, sir, before we roll?
Other than the fact that I'm actually excited for the birthday time, the I just want to remind everybody when people give you referrals, it's because they really like you and they're just having fun. And I want everybody to remember, because sometimes I take it for granted, just have them write it down. And I'm that's something I've been making sure that I always, always, always do and have this book on me because I've been doing this for way too long and I can't tell you how many referrals I've lost because I didn't have them write it down in my journal. I had it saved in my phone or my contacts or someplace. I just want everybody to adopt the life rule to always have it in here. I think that will make you thousands of dollars more over your career, really prioritizing that instead of having to wait so many years for somebody to tell you to just put it in there. Like I've finally convinced myself to do every single time, every single time. Anyway, that would be it.
Thank you so